All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on Severe Weather Now. We've got another very active day across the country in terms of severe weather. It is spring. This is something we see very often, but this one today is a little bit more widespread, I think, than what we've seen over the course of the spring so far, as we have about 20 states that will see some form of severe weather throughout the afternoon and the evening as a strong cold front dives into the plain states and eventually heading into the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley. Now, this cold front is going to drive a big pattern change across the eastern half of the country. We're going to go from our spring like feeling, even summertime temperatures in spots, back to more of a late winter, early spring like feeling with even some snowflakes flying across areas of the Great Lakes. So, this one is going to be pretty interesting as we go through the next 24 hours. So we've got obviously some storms now. We've seen some pretty decent storms all across the country right now. We've got a couple target areas. We're going to start where we have a brand new severe thunderstorm watch. This is in areas of Illinois and eastern Iowa with these thunderstorms developing. This is along the actual cold front, just out ahead of it. And our primary threat with these is going to be damaging winds, and we've also had some large hail with these. That's going to be the case, I think, for a lot of our thunderstorms on the go forward tonight. We do have a tornado risk for some of these, but I think it's mainly going to be a damaging wind and large hail threat. So these storms now approaching areas of western Illinois now, Peoria. You've got about another half hour or so before these arrive, but these definitely have some hail with them, in addition to some gusty winds, and you can see multiple supercells developing there as well. And the local weather service there has all four of those storms warned as a result. So we've got that action going on. We've also been watching storms that have been ongoing across areas of Kentucky and southern West Virginia heading into Virginia. These storms have been kind of on an outflow boundary from our storms last night that rocked areas of the Great Lakes. You can see some of these stronger storms not taking up a lot of real estate, but Lexington just got a real decent storm move through, and you can see that storm is severe now heading towards the Richmond community. Down to the south, this is kind of rural Kentucky, heading over towards areas near Pikeville. We've got a line of some strong showers and thunderstorms. This one happens to be severe because we've got some hail and strong winds with it. That's heading down to the south and the east, eventually crossing into areas of Virginia here. And then we've got a whole cluster of severe storms. This is where more of the energy is as we get into Virginia. With these storms, we've got some very strong winds with these. In addition to some hail, you can see that leading edge right there with that storm producing some damaging winds as it heads down towards the Blacksburg community. Eventually, you get into the Roanoke, who's already seen two storms already. We've got another little line coming in. I think the worst is going to pass just to the west of the Roanoke community. So we're getting into the Plattsburgh, Pulaski area, Christiansburg here, and that's going to roar in there fast. So we're going to go from really not a whole lot of action going on to a pretty decent storm in a hurry. Let's pull up the winds with this because that's one of the main concerns as this continues to slide down to the south and the east. We can look inside the thunderstorm and see some of the wind as we get up in elevation or up into the clouds. And you can see this area of bright blue that you have there. That is indicating some very strong winds aloft, and those are more than likely coming down to the surface. So prepare for some very strong winds. If you're in the Blacksburg community, Bluefield, you're in there as well. Christiansburg and Roanoke, this is going to be just down to your south and the west, but you've got another storm that's had some hail with it that's moving through now. So pretty rough go of it for things in areas of Virginia. We've got other areas of severe weather as well. As you get down towards Tennessee, we've got a couple severe thunderstorms. These are just west of Nashville now, between Memphis and the Nashville area. And again, these are packing a punch in terms of some hail as well. Whoops, wrong radar site there. Let's pull up the actual Nashville radar. And actually, we'll just go to this one here. We've had lots of lightning with these as well. In addition to hail, you can see the wind not really a factor as you get further down to the south. The reason why is we have really not a lot of jet stream energy punching in there. Most of the jet stream energy is off to the north. So these are hailers. We've got some hail with it, lots of lightning, very heavy rain, and they're moving pretty slowly as well, just to the south and east of the Jackson community. Eventually getting into areas near Columbia. This is all south of Nashville, but certainly some stronger storms there as we go through the rest of the evening hours that will continue to head off to the east. So there's some of the communities involved in there: Decaturville, Henderson, a pretty rough storm for you. And we've got a couple of cores of hail here, likely some golf ball or marble size hail in a couple of these as they continue to head off to the east. So those are hailers down as you get into Tennessee. We go further south, we've got more severe weather now. This is unrelated to the front. This is a little impulse of energy heading through the atmosphere that is been triggering storms pretty much all day for areas of the deep south. And these have a pretty decent punch to them. You can see pretty good movement on these as well across areas of Mississippi. These are all north of Meridian, but we've had hail and some damaging winds with these. So a little bit of a different beast as we get into the Mississippi heading into Alabama border there. You can see just north of Meridian, we've had lots of lightning. You can hear the thunder, but you've got another storm coming into town here. And it's basically on an outflow boundary. You can see how this first storm here put off a little line there that you see on radar. That's an outflow boundary, basically the wind that comes off of a thunderstorm from all the falling rain. And that has helped to really kick off this storm here, which looks pretty ominous in terms of that little hook that we have there. You can see it's starting to ramp up a little bit, perhaps interacting with some of the warm, humid air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico there. Let's take a brief look at the wind. It's just a severe thunderstorm warned storm right now, but definitely something we need to keep an eye on. So we'll take a look at velocity, and you can see we've got a pretty decent burst of wind there. So likely damaging wind with this one as this heads down to the south and east. The worst of this will pass just south of downtown Meridian. But again, something to watch. That's getting a little squirrely there, that storm getting ready to pass into Alabama. And speaking of Alabama, we'll pull up the Birmingham radar now. We have had some showers and thunderstorms in and around areas of central Alabama throughout the afternoon, and those will continue. We've got another round moving in from the west, and you can see here we're still dealing with some lightning as you get south of town. This is towards the Hoover, down towards Shelby. As you get along I-65, we're seeing some really heavy downpours. Montevallo, lots of lightning with this as well. These are all sub-severe. That's the good news, but the bad news is we have more activity off to the west. I would imagine the severe threat as we go through the next couple hours would mainly be confined to areas from Montgomery south of the Birmingham area, as this looks pretty stable up here in terms of the air mass there. All right, off to the east, we've got even more activity. Areas of Georgia have been seeing some rough weather. It's been a hail-producing thunderstorms that have been the problem here this afternoon across portions of Georgia. You can see down towards Albany, we're dealing with some thunder and lightning. A pretty rogue cell there, not a whole lot of activity to speak of in terms of widespread. You can see we've got some storms developing north of Americus, areas of Sumter County there, heading up towards Montezuma. And then some storms starting to fire now. This could be an ongoing flood threat here shortly, as we've got storms areas of northern Lee County. This is towards the Auburn community, getting ready to cross over into Harris County. You can see how this stretches back into areas of Alabama, and it's the same areas getting the heavy rain, so we may have some flooding with that shortly. The good news is all these storms are sub-severe right now, but that atmosphere capable of producing some strong to severe storms as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon. So that's what we're dealing with right now in terms of warnings. We'll go back to where I think the biggest threat is right now because there's a jet stream hauling above these storms, and this is where we're expecting a lot of the initiation as we go throughout the afternoon in terms of thunderstorm activity, and that is with these storms in areas of Illinois. We've had already some pretty decent supercells developing here. These are really going to get going as we go throughout the afternoon, and eventually we'll see more development down to the south into areas of Missouri, and that will form a line that is expected, at least models are showing it, and I totally agree with it. It's going to be a line of storms that develops somewhere in here, which it's already developed off to the north. We've got some development, but nothing severe in Missouri. But this whole line is going to race down to the south and the east with a little bit of an easterly component, not quite as much southeasterly component as we had yesterday. So areas of Indiana, Ohio, and then eventually Kentucky down towards Tennessee, we're going to get some real healthy thunderstorms in there from a line that develops up here, and that's along the actual cold front. So that's what we're going to be tracking the rest of the afternoon. And again, that threat is for damaging winds, large hail. We can't rule out a couple tornadoes with it as well. So this is going to be our main event. We've got those rogue cells out ahead of it, though. We've got, again, a couple in Kentucky. We highlighted the Lexington storms, areas of western Virginia near Roanoke. We've seen damaging winds from these storms as they continue down in the south and east. So these are all capable of severe weather out ahead of it. But that main show, again, is going to be up in Illinois, and we'll watch that the rest of the evening. Then you can see western Tennessee. We've got a couple severe thunderstorms that we highlighted. And then this area heading from Mississippi into Alabama, and a couple rogue cells as well in the southern Georgia area. So we've got a pretty rough day ahead, rough afternoon and evening for much of the country. So we'll continue to keep you updated here for sure. Thanks for checking us out. Hit subscribe if you get a chance. If you like severe weather coverage without the hype, we like to give it to you straight here. We don't sensationalize or do anything like that. We just tell you where the storms are, where they're going, and what you can expect as we go throughout this event. So we'll be back later this evening. Thanks for joining us, and stay safe, everybody.